The tunnel was supposed to take 6 minutes. That was what the sign said at the entrance, white letters on green metal, reflective enough to glow under headlights. Keep speed. Do not stop. Estimated time, 6 minutes. Most drivers didn't think about it. Tunnels were common on this route, long roads carved through hills, saving hours of travel. You entered, followed the curve, and exited somewhere else, with the faint pressure change in your ears and the feeling of having skipped a piece of the world. Raghav noticed the time because he had been counting everything lately. He checked the clock on the dashboard as he crossed the threshold. 11:42 p.m. The tunnel swallowed the car, concrete walls closing around him, yellow lights stretching into the distance like a spine of glowing bones. 6 minutes. He kept his speed steady. No radio, no music, just the hum of the engine and the soft, rhythmic slap of tires against the road. At first, nothing felt wrong. The tunnel curved gently, exactly as expected. The lights passed at even intervals. Other cars were visible ahead. 2 red taillights far in the distance, steady and reassuring. Raghav relaxed his grip on the wheel. Then he noticed the silence. Not the normal tunnel silence. This was deeper. The engine sounded muffled, like it was being heard through water. Even the tires seemed quieter, as if the road itself had absorbed the noise. He glanced at the clock. 11:49 p.m. 7 minutes had passed. That didn't make sense. He should have been out already. Raghav frowned and leaned forward slightly, peering through the windshield. The tunnel looked unchanged. Same curve, same lights, same distance to the car ahead. He told himself the clock must be wrong. Then the car ahead slowed. Its brake lights flared red, bright against the dull yellow glow. Raghav eased off the accelerator, irritation prickling at the back of his mind. The sign had been clear. Do not stop. The car ahead came to a complete halt. Raghav stopped too, leaving a safe distance between them. He waited for hazard lights. None came. The driver didn't get out. The tunnel lights continued their hum. No alarms, no announcements. Just the quiet, stretched stillness of a space not meant for rest. After a full minute, Raghav tapped his horn. The sound was wrong. It didn't echo. It didn't bounce or distort the way sound always did in tunnels. It died instantly, as if swallowed by thick fabric. The car ahead remained still. Raghav checked his mirrors. Behind him, more headlights appeared. Cars slowing, stacking up. No one honked. No one flashed lights. Everyone waited. Another minute passed. Then, without warning, the car ahead rolled forward again, accelerating smoothly, as if nothing had happened. Raghav followed, heart thudding a little faster than before. He checked the clock. 11:49 p.m. It hadn't changed. A cold unease crept into his chest. He knew the clock worked. He'd fixed it himself months ago. He watched it tick every day. He drove on. The tunnel curved. The lights passed. Nothing else happened. 5 more minutes. 10. He stopped counting. Eventually, the car ahead slowed again. This time it didn't stop completely. It crawled, barely moving. Raghav edged closer, trying to see inside. The rear windshield was dark. Too dark, not tinted, empty, as if there were no seats inside. Just blackness, swallowing the reflection of the tunnel lights. Raghav felt a sudden, irrational urge to reverse. He resisted it. The car ahead drifted to the side, scraping the wall with a shrill metallic scream that made Raghav flinch. Sparks flew. The sound echoed sharply. Finally, a sound behaving the way it should. Then the car stopped, angled slightly, blocking half the lane. Raghav braked hard. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. He moved slowly, stiffly, like someone waking from deep sleep. He didn't look injured. His clothes were neat, his hair combed, his face blank. He turned toward Raghav. His eyes were wrong. Not empty, not lifeless. They were focused too precisely, as if locked onto something just behind Raghav's eyes. The man raised a hand, palm open. Raghav didn't know why, but he lowered his window. "You've been here a while," the man said. His voice carried strangely, not echoing, not fading, just arriving fully formed at Raghav's ears. "How long?" Raghav asked. The man frowned slightly. "That depends." "On what?" "On how much you remember." A shiver ran through Raghav's spine. "Remember what?" The man glanced back at his car, then at the tunnel ahead. "Why you started driving tonight." Raghav opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He knew the answer. He was sure he did. But the words slipped away the moment he tried to shape them, like water through fingers. "I was going home," he said finally, unsure if it was true. The man smiled faintly. "That's what most people say at first." "What is this place?" Raghav demanded. "Is there an accident, a collapse?" The man shook his head. "No, it's working exactly as intended." He stepped closer. Raghav noticed then that the man's shadow didn't match his movements. It lagged slightly, dragging behind him, stretching toward the darkness between the tunnel lights. "You should keep moving," the man said. "Stopping makes it harder." "Harder for what?" "For you," he replied, "to leave with the right number of pieces." Before Raghav could ask what that meant, the man stepped backward, straight into the wall. There was no impact, no resistance. The concrete rippled, darkened, and opened like liquid, swallowing the man without sound. The wall smoothed itself again, leaving nothing behind, not even a mark. Raghav screamed. The sound came out thin, strangled, wrong. Behind him, horns finally blared. Panic spread through the line of cars. Doors opened. People shouted. Raghav slammed the accelerator. He didn't look back. The tunnel stretched on. The lights began to change. At first, Raghav thought his eyes were failing him. Then he realized the spacing was wrong. Some lights were closer together, others farther apart. The rhythm was broken. With it went his sense of time. He checked the clock again. 11:49 p.m. His hands were shaking. As he drove, he noticed shapes in the tunnel walls. Not reflections, not stains, but impressions like the faint outlines left when something presses repeatedly against soft material. Faces, hands, whole bodies. They were subtle, easy to miss if you didn't stare too long. Raghav stared anyway. Some of the faces looked familiar. Not recognizable in detail, but familiar in feeling, like half-remembered dreams or people he'd passed 1,000 times without speaking. One face, though, made his stomach drop. It looked like him. Same nose, same slight asymmetry in the eyes, same scar near the chin. The mouth was open, stretched in silent warning. Raghov swerved and nearly hit the wall. He forced himself to look forward. The tunnel began to widen. The ceiling rose, arching higher than before, lights fading into a distant glow. The road broadened into multiple lanes, though only one was marked. Cars appeared again, many of them, parked haphazardly, some angled into walls, others neatly aligned as if intentionally placed. None of them had drivers inside. Their interiors were empty. No seats, no steering wheels, just smooth, dark hollows, like molds waiting to be filled. Raghov slowed, despite himself. As he passed the parked cars, he felt something pull at him. Not physically, but internally. A gentle tug on his thoughts, his memories. Images flickered unbidden. A childhood room he hadn't thought about in decades. A conversation he wished he could redo. The face of someone he had loved and then carefully stopped remembering. Each memory surfaced, lingered, then slid away, leaving a faint ache behind. The tunnel was taking inventory. At the far end of the widened space stood a structure that did not belong in a road. A booth, like an old toll booth. Glass windows dull with age, a single light glowing inside. A figure sat within. Raghov approached slowly, dread thick in his chest. The figure looked up. It wore no uniform, no defining features. Its face seemed unfinished, like it was still deciding what to be. "Ticket," it said. "I don't have one," Raghov replied hoarsely. "That's all right," the figure said. "You paid on entry." "With what?" The figure tilted its head. "You've already forgotten something small. That's normal." Raghov felt sudden anger cut through the fear. "I want to leave." "So does everyone!" The figure leaned closer to the glass. "The tunnel exists to reduce congestion." "Congestion of what?" "Lives," it replied simply. "Too many paths, too many unfinished selves. People carry excess, regret, unchosen versions. This place helps streamline." Raghov shook his head. "You're saying this tunnel, what cleans people, balances them," the figure corrected. "Most exit lighter, some exit hollow. A few never find a configuration that works." "And you?" Raghov asked. "What are you?" The figure smiled, and for a moment its face looked almost human. "I'm what remains when enough people leave pieces behind." The light above the booth flickered. "Your turn," it said. "You're close to the threshold." "What happens if I refuse?" The figure gestured to the parked cars. "You stop progressing." Raghov thought of the man who'd stepped into the wall, of the faces pressed into concrete, of the clock frozen at 11:49. He swallowed. "What do you take?" The figure studied him. "That depends on what weighs the most." A pressure built behind Raghav's eyes. Images surged, mistakes, words never said, moments where he'd chosen safety over honesty. Each memory felt heavy, dragging at him. "Please," he whispered, "I just want to go home." The figure's expression softened. "Then you must decide what home means." The barrier lifted. Raghov drove forward. The tunnel narrowed again. The lights returned to their regular spacing. The walls smoothed, the faces fading until there was only concrete. Ahead, he saw daylight. Real daylight. He burst out of the tunnel, gasping, heart hammering, the open road stretching before him exactly as it should. He pulled over and sobbed, relief crashing through him in waves. The clock on the dashboard ticked forward. 11:50 p.m. Raghav drove home. Life continued. Mostly. Sometimes he reached for memories that weren't there anymore. Sometimes people told him stories he knew he should remember being part of. Sometimes he woke with the certainty that something important had been carefully removed, like a tumor he'd never been told about. Years later, he heard about a tunnel closure, structural review, reports of drivers stopping for no reason, claiming they'd been inside too long. Raghav never commented. He just avoided that road, because he knew the tunnel was still there, working, reducing congestion, and waiting for the next person who thought 6 minutes was a guarantee instead of an offering.